This week on LTC News, lighting up the holidays, advocating for democracy in Cambodia,
respect human rights, and free and fair election in 2018.
Local artists make gift shopping fun.
I think the thing to do is just walk in and look around.
Stay with us. Welcome to LTC News. I'm your news anchor, Alana Flood. On November 16th, the High Court in Cambodia ruled to dissolve the opposition party, the Cambodia National Rescue Party, or CNRP. This move clears the way for Prime Minister Hun Sen to run in an uncontested race in 2018. Current CNRP members holding seats in Parliament are now banned from participating in Cambodian political activities for 5 years. On November 18th, a public forum was held at UMass Lowell's O'Leary Library. Local Cambodian American activists and exiled Cambodian political leaders addressed the current situation under Hun Sen's government. The speakers included exiled former CNRP President Sam Rainsy and retired Cambodian General His Excellency Lu Lay Srang, who was also in exile after speaking out against Hun Sen. They called for international support to denounce what they see as the unlawful actions by Hun Sen in dissolving an entire political party and imprisoning its leader, Kem Sokha.
You know you are here because Cambodia, now democracy in Cambodia is dying because of that one man. One man, for years has been intimidating, harassing the opposition party, intimidating, harassing, violating the right of the people to speak, to assemble, to criticize. That's not democracy.
We women, we play a significant role in bringing change and democracy in our country. So we need to put everything aside and rescue our party and rescue our nation. We
wanted the free Kamsaka, the respect of free press, respect human rights, and free and fair election in 2018. But it has to happen now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today just to let you know that CPP leader Hun Sen, he come to a dead end road now. So right now, everything in Cambodia is not lawful. What we need now, all your support, all mayor overseas, all international pressure to finish and to close the president dictator leader to the end.
Many reactions from the international community, from experts, from congressmen, senators, diplomats, those who know Cambodia very well. After learning that Hun Sen, through his kangaroo court, has dissolved the CNRP, the most relevant, intelligent comment that I have heard is that Hun Sen has committed suicide. So I am very confident that from today, a new big battle has started. We have to not only to denounce, but to delegitimize, to ask the world to de-recognize, so as to destabilize this crazy regime. I am very confident, brothers and sisters, all friends of Cambodia, all over the world, we will fight until we bring about democracy in Cambodia.
Many of our neighbors in Lowell have family and friends living in Cambodia. We'll continue to watch this volatile situation. And now Brian Dorrington, LTC Director of Municipal Programming, brings us his last City Council synopsis. Brian is moving on to a new position at Lynn's Public Access Station. We will all miss his wry sense of humor and his insight into the business of Lowell City Council.
Hello and welcome to the City Council Synopsis for the meeting of November 21st, 2017. This is hard for me to say without getting choked up, but this will be the very last City Council Synopsis. I know it's heartbreaking, but all mediocre things must come to an end. A lot of people have asked me how I create all of my graphics for this show, and since this is the last segment, I figured I'd share my secret. So it's actually really simple. This beast right here, this is the Graphics 3000, and what you do is you're just going to take like an accurate drawing of whatever you want to do. Today we're going to do Mr. Bean riding a rocking horse. We're just going to take it, you write a brief description, and then you're going to take it, you fold it up, you put it right in the Graphics 3000. So the first thing you do when you got your graphic in there is you want to put in a debit card, credit card, EBT card, anything like that. It takes anything you want. Next, you're just going to need a little blood. You're just going to take a little pin and just, right through the finger. Next, we're just going to need a little bit of hair. Did you shave the intern?
I did, freshly shaven.
Perfect, thank you. So a lot of people like to bake their graphic. I actually think the Graphic 3000 actually works better if you freeze it, so we're going to put it in the freezer. After about 30-40 minutes, you're just going to take your graphics out of the freezer and you can put it down on any round table. The table has to be round. And you just pick it up, pull it out, and there's your graphic. City Manager Kevin Murphy provided the council with an update on the Rourke Bridge. Most of you probably know that the Rourke Bridge is a temporary bridge that has been in use for over 30 years. Now, if your dentist were to install a temporary bridge that he left in and refused to replace for 30 years, you'd sue him for malpractice. But since this is a state government project, they can take their time and 6% of every Black Friday purchase you made while we sit and wait in terrible traffic. Councilor Berlanger said he believes the Rourke Bridge poses a public safety threat because it makes it difficult for emergency vehicles to get through the traffic. He also called on surrounding communities to get involved to lobby for a new bridge, as it is a regional bridge with regional impact. City Manager Murphy informed the council that the Rourke Bridge didn't make it on the Mass DOT's list of priorities. This is partly because while the Rourke Bridge has been declared functionally obsolete, it is still structurally safe. Councillor Elliott worried that the new market basket may increase traffic on the bridge and surrounding areas. He discussed the possibility of putting the new market basket on hold until the bridge is funded to get the state's attention. It's important that this project move forward soon because the feasibility study done in 2013 will expire in the year 2018. The feasibility study cost $500,000 and was funded by the federal government. Mayor Kennedy worried that the federal government won't fund another feasibility study if the current one expires. In other bothersome bridge news, the council was informed that there will be a delay in infrastructure improvements for the bridges that carry the VFW highway over Beaver Brook. During excavation work, Mass DOT discovered hazardous contaminants in the soil. While there is no risk to the public, the infrastructure improvements will be delayed by at least a year. Well, that's all I have for you today, tomorrow, and forever. Thanks for staying with me all these years, and remember you can watch the meetings in their entirety on LTC Channel 99 or on demand anytime at ltc.org. Thanks for watching, and be swell.
We are lucky as Lowellians to live in a community that nurtures the arts. This can come as a huge advantage during the holiday season, when our diverse collection of galleries and working artist studios open their doors for special holiday hours and events. Why settle for something ordinary when you can find the loved ones on your list one-of-a-kind handmade pieces? What's even better, it supports our local Lowell economy. Brush Art Gallery and Studios, with its cozy studio environment, has been giving artists a place to create and sell their work for more than 30 years.
We have 11 studio artists, and we have about 25 wall artists that rent wall spaces. And a lot of times our artists are here, and you can talk to them about what they're making.
Oh, are you the artist here?
I am. I'm Will Winslow. Well, I have original art, of course, but I have prints here, a number of prints. I have cards. I have small paintings.
This is where I work, and this is what I've got for Christmas. These are handmade cards and magnets.
These are gorgeous magnets. They almost look like jewelry.
A lot of the women like to come in and look at the jewelry. I have several different artists that display jewelry.
Right now I'm working on some earrings that I'm oxidizing to make them colorful. It's another thing that I do is make spinner rings to people's specifications.
You know, the prices really aren't bad either, very reasonable. So my shopping is not nearly done yet, so we're gonna head out to the Artists League of Lowell and the Gates Block Studios right around the corner.
In this show, we have sculpture, we have ceramics, paintings, photographs, and then in front here, right in where we're standing, is in the co-op area, and there's jewelry here and ceramics again, and more paintings and photographs.
Textiles as well.
Textiles as well, yeah.
So I am somebody who could be a little bit intimidated by art. It's a little confusing for me. I'm scared about prices and a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what would be my best plan of action if I came here to check out some of the pieces?
Well, I think the thing to do is just walk in and look around. There's always something you'll find that you like. You don't have to like everything, obviously. All the people working here are volunteer artists, member artists. They all belong to the Arts League of Lowell. So everybody you see in the gallery is an artist. So you can ask any of them, and they all know something about everything. So you shouldn't ever feel intimidated to come in and look. We try for the holidays to make it easy for somebody to put art under the tree instead of something else.
These doors are closed now, but if you'd like to see the artists at work behind them, make sure to check out the open studios on December 9th. Now, let's head on over to Western Avenue Studios. If you're looking for a unique gift, shopping locally is the best way to do it. We have a huge collection of artists here at Western Ave, and almost everything that you'll find here is completely unique and, for the most part, one of a kind. So at an open studios event, you can expect between 110 and 125 studios to be open. It's your chance to go into a space where an artist works and see how they work and see why they do what they do. It's a great way to connect personally with an artist and with their work. Shop locally is very important because for every $100 spent in a local economy at a small business, $68 of that money goes back into the local economy. So by supporting a local artist, that money will then be spent for marketing, it might be spent for eating at a restaurant, it might be spent for buying supplies. We have woodworkers, we have metal workers, people who work with fiber, people who create jewelry, people who do ceramics, people who work with glass. We have a wide variety of art. So if paintings are really not your thing, don't be afraid. Coming to artistic places like this is a great way to see different kinds of art. We had a lot of fun visiting the galleries and meeting the artists. You can definitely give great gifts when you buy local in Lowell. The Mass Health Connector acts as an insurance broker to offer free, subsidized, and full-price health and dental insurance plans to residents from the state's leading private insurers. The 2018 open enrollment period runs until January 23rd. You must apply for coverage during this time to enroll, re-enroll, or change your insurance plan through the Health Connector. If you miss that deadline, you won't be able to enroll until next fall, unless you qualify for a special enrollment due to a life event such as losing an employer's coverage or because you had a baby. If you have a low income, you may qualify for reduced rates or even free coverage through Connector Care. People who qualify for Medicaid or CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program, can apply for those programs anytime. This is all pretty complicated, but you can call Lowell Community Health Center or the CMAA to make an appointment to speak with a certified application counselor. Or go to the Mass Health Connector website for more information and to enroll. Don't miss the deadline of January 23rd, or you may lose your health insurance coverage next year. The 29th Annual City of Lights Holiday Parade took place on Saturday, November 25th. For 29 years, the parade has launched the holiday season in Lowell. As always, spectators line the streets downtown to enjoy the festive holiday display of floats, performers, and traditional holiday music.
The mistletoe last night, he didn't see me creep down the stairs to have a peek. He thought that I was stuck up in my bedroom fast asleep. Oh, I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. What a laugh it would have been if Daddy had only seen Mommy kissing Santa Claus last night. I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. He didn't see me creep down the stairs to have a peek. He thought that I was stuck up in my bedroom fast asleep. Oh, I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. What a laugh it would have been if Daddy had only seen Mommy kissing Santa Claus last night. Jingle all the way.
In this week's Sunspot, Lowell Sun Enterprise editor Chris Scott sits down with Jay Linehan, executive director of the Greater Lowell Community Foundation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Scott from The Sun. Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of Sunspot. We're going to veer off the main course a little bit this week. Normally we have politicians and police officers and what have you in this seat. Today we're going to have a leader of one of the city's best-known nonprofits, the Greater Lowell Community Foundation. He's relatively new there. He's going to bring us up to speed and tell us what's on tap at the Greater Lowell Community Foundation moving forward. Jay Linehan, thank you for coming in today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me here today.
A lot of people know you from your previous hat at the previous how you were at Middlesex Community College.
Correct.
But you've landed a nice job over the Greater Lowell Community Foundation and appear to be doing very well there. You've been there now how long?
Just almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in January.
Boy, time flies.
It sure does.
Mm-hmm. So tell us how the first 2 years have gone and what some of your objectives have been, achievements rather, and you know how the Greater Lowell Community Foundation operates and what you have planned for 2018.
Well, it's been a wonderful 2 years. I've really enjoyed it, and I think as I transferred from the college over to the community foundation, it wasn't as much of a transition as I thought, and many thought it might be, because at the college, in my capacity, I reached out to a lot of people as well.
Right.
And we did it in a little bit of a different way, but it was all about how do we improve the quality of life of people in our community. And of course, that's the major mission of the community foundation. How do we improve the quality of life for the people that are in our region? And so my first goal when we were over there was to say, okay, so how do we operate? How does this place operate? What are the key pieces that we need in place from an infrastructure perspective? Do we have those pieces in place? As many know, there had been some turnover prior to me coming there.
Quite a bit.
And so how do we stabilize it? How do we let people in the community look at the foundation and say, it's in good hands. We're pleased with the leadership. We're pleased with what they're doing, the direction that they're taking, and having trust in a community foundation. Because as you think about trust, ultimately what the community foundation wants people to do is to take their philanthropy and invest in us. And you're not going to put your money anywhere where if you don't trust them and you don't feel that it's a solid, organization that's going to go do good work in the community. So
let's just stay on that topic, excuse me, just for a minute about the stability. Prior to you taking over, I think there were at least 3, maybe 4 folks who were kind of in and out quickly. There was Ray Riddick, the late Ray Riddick Jr., there was John Tebow, who was there for a little while, then there was a woman, a Sue Winship, who was there. Do you feel you've reestablished that stability now? If you've been there 2 years, I think that's probably more than any of those guys were there, right?
Yeah, I don't. To look back and see what they've done and what they didn't do, I couldn't really answer that. But going forward, I think the answer is yes.
Good.
I think I've been hearing back from the board that they're hearing in the community that the foundation's out there. We're doing some good stuff. We're out on social media a lot more.
I've heard that from board members as well.
And I mean, that's a huge first step. Because it was interesting when I've talked to folks in the past and said, so what is the Greater Lowell Community Foundation? And I'm like, it's one of the best kept secrets in the Greater Lowell area.
So just what is it? If I wanted to become involved in the Greater Lowell Community Foundation just as an average resident, how can I do that?
Very simply. But let me just say what it isn't first, because a lot of people think it's a foundation, or it's like a Bill Gates Foundation. It's like, because there's many foundations that people hear much more of, and those foundations are funded by a single individual that has a philanthropic desire and they want to achieve that. That's great. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation is comprised of 350 different funds from over 500 different people. And we've got about $34 million under management right now. So our whole goal...
Is that 34 million?
34 million. So our whole goal is to connect with people in the community that have a desire to be philanthropic. And it doesn't have to be high net worth people. I met with an individual yesterday morning, and he goes, what are you talking to me for? I'm not a high net worth person. I said, you don't have to be. You can start with small dollars, and big dollars are fine, absolutely. We like big dollars too. But it's all about how do we collect resources within the community and then grant them. So as I mentioned, we have some $34 million under management. On an average year, we grant about $1.5 million worth of grants out to the Greater Lowell community.
That you earn on investing that $34 million,
correct? Correct. That we earn in spending some of that down. And most of it's endowed. We deal with lots of different pass-through types of things where folks want to do events of some nature that is, charitable in nature and will help assist that. And, how do we work with the nonprofits?
So say, for instance, I lived in Westford or Chelmsford, and I know you're trying to grow the agency outside of Lowell.
Correct.
We can talk about that. And I had a little extra money that I wanted to invest. How would I go about doing that with the Greater Lowell Community Foundation and choosing an area on how it should be, where it should be invested?
Well, there's a variety of different ways to do that, but I'll give you an example, because you've mentioned Chelmsford and you mentioned Westford. In Westford, we currently have what's called the Westford Community Fund. And the Westford Community Fund was established by a board member on our board, Patty Mason, who's a fabulous individual and is a go. She never stops. But she established this with folks in Westford, and folks put money in this fund. And it's a group of folks from Westford that decide where the money goes. So they put money into it, and it's not a lot of money. We're talking like 10 grand, and a number of people that put money in it. And then they decide, where does it go? And so currently they're talking about how do we enhance business, and how do we do that through training. So they're looking to give grants to small businesses for training to enhance business in the Westford area. So that's already been established. We've got scheduled later this year to do a similar discussion with Chelmsford to say, would you be interested in having a community fund in your area? Because one of the perceptions is that the Greater Lowell Community Foundation is all about Lowell. It's not. And we need to get that discussion out there. And I think a good way is by the community funds.
Is Westford the first community fund?
It is, okay. Absolutely. And the Chelmsford one will be the second, and we're pretty sure we'll be doing that, hopefully close that out before the end of this particular year. But again, it's the capacity to go out and say, what's important to you in your community? Throw some money in this pool, and then you guys have the ability to decide where it goes, assuming that it's a legitimate charitable cause. And that's the role of the Community Foundation. How do we facilitate philanthropy in our community?
So on behalf of Patty Mason and her supporters, or the folks that she's involved in Westford, the Greater Lowell Community Foundation has invested that money, correct?
In her instance, no. In her instance, see, there's two fundamental types of agreements. One is an endowed one, and folks can do that. If you have an endowed agreement, there's a spending policy associated with that. So you put money in and you spend 5% per year against that. And the intent, of course, of that is to have that maintained into perpetuity. But we likewise have pass-through funds. And a pass-through fund is what the Westford Community Fund is like. And the folks can put in, so we've got, let's say we've got 20 people that put in $500 and you've got 10 grand. And they say, we want to spend the 10 grand all next year. They can do that. And they can say, well, we don't want to spend it all next year. We want to spend 5, we want 5 to roll over, we want to build this, and then we'll take it to an endowed fund.
I see.
So there's the capacity, and we're, the whole thing that I want folks to understand is we are a very easy organization to work with. We are very flexible on how people want to facilitate their philanthropy, because at the end of the day, it's all about philanthropy. It's what are the needs in our community, and how do we help address those needs?
On the Westford Fund, has any of that money gone back to the community yet in different ways, or is that still being determined?
No, it has. I mean, they've done grants back to, as I mentioned just a moment ago, to some of the small businesses for training. They've done it to support some of the activities, the town activities that they'll do, like festivals on the square and things of that nature.
Just little issues that, or little projects that maybe the town can't fund itself.
Correct. That they can't fund, or that they want to enhance just a little bit more. You know, how do we, focus on this particular issue? And yeah, I mean, everybody's aware of the fact that the federal, state, and municipal dollars are tight, and notwithstanding the fact they probably want to do all of those things, the resources aren't there. So it's wonderful that the philanthropic community, the folks that have some money, or even more money, and that's the beauty of it all. You don't have to be a rich person with a big expensive car and a big house to participate in the foundation.
Who's leading the Chelmsford Fund? You mentioned Patty Mason in Westford. Is there someone who's emerging in Chelmsford that's trying to facilitate?
Well, there's a couple folks. We've got a gentleman on board, John Chumley. I think most folks know John's name, and George Dixon, who's on the board out there. Those are the key people that I've been dealing with on that. Wonderful individuals, needless to say, and they're helping us get that all put together and engage some folks out in Chelmsford.
Now, besides Westford and Chelmsford and Lowell, the Greater Lowell Community Foundation has a much larger umbrella.
It does.
It includes some of the other towns in the Neshoba Valley, correct, and down toward Route 128.
Right.
How many communities altogether?
20 altogether. Please don't ask me to name all 20.
We can get that on the website. You mentioned earlier that right now you have $34 million that you're caring for.
Correct.
Is that the most that the Greater Lowell Community Foundation has ever had?
Correct.
So that's in addition to the stability in the executive director's office, that's a positive sign as well, is it not?
Absolutely it is. And our ultimate goal is to continue to raise money. The whole idea, the whole premise behind it is raise more money and give more away.
How does that amount, the $34 million, compare to some of the other community foundations across the state? I believe there's a community foundation in the Greater Lawrence area. There's one in Boston. The Boston one is
Boston's $1 billion.
That's $1 billion. Of course,
Right.
That's really not an apples to apples comparison. But how does that compare to some of the other foundations the size of Lowell's?
I think we're a little behind on some of them. We've got Essex that does great. I think is a comparison, and there's North Central, which has a greater endowment than we do as well. And for me, that some could say, well, gee, that's not real good. For me, I'm going, no, that's actually very good, because I think it shows that the potential that's out there in the area that we have is that capacity is there. I do believe in the area we have a significant capacity that we can reach. And when we talked with the Sun a year or so ago, and we talked about where do you want to go, and we said $50 million, and we do want to go to $50 million.
Entering 2018 will be the Community Foundation's 20th, is it?
20. We're in our 20th year right now.
You're in your 20th now.
Right now, and so we'll be in year 21 next year. So,
and what can the region look forward to in 2018 from we only have about a minute left from the Greater Lowell Community Foundation?
Part of what we want to do is continue to focus on the needs within the community. Over these last 2 years, we put grants out for the opioids thing. And how do we address the greatest needs and raise money for them and address them and improve the quality of life for the people in our region?
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that. I think I'll have a Sun reporter maybe do a story on the Westford Fund and take a closer look at that, and maybe we can talk to John Chemley.
Absolutely.
In Chelmsford.
I'd be happy to do that.
And that could maybe publicize that effort, and you could get a few more communities involved as well.
Would love to.
So, Jay, thanks for coming in.
That's it for this edition of LTC News. You can find us on LTC channels 899, on Roku at LTC Lowell, online at ltc.org, or get the link on Facebook. I'm Alana Flood. Thank you for joining us.